I just want to jump on here real quick. I made a rookie mistake for this video. I sat down with Lee at Partially Committed and I didn't do an audio check. I just took for granted that my mic was working. So his is working and mine was not, so I sound awful. I'm gonna try to split the audio up, do the best I can. Forgive me for the bad audio. I promise I'm learning, I'm getting better, so the next interview is gonna be better. Forgive me, stick around. Things are gonna get a lot better and there's a lot of cool builders ahead, and I'm sorry about the bad audio, folks.
All right, well, welcome back to episode number 2 of In the Shop. I'm here with Lee Ravenel.
Ravenel.
See, I said Ravenel.
Yeah.
My buddy Diamond said Ravenel.
Oh, yeah.
So Diamond, you were wrong. Appreciate him taking the time to sit with me. I was about an hour and a half from Atlanta. Today's my birthday, so...
Oh, happy birthday, man. I didn't know that.
What better to do than sit down with somebody that makes one of my favorite chassis. It just looks incredible. So how long have you been building these things?
We've been building these since 2013 or 14, and really only building the CNC versions now for probably, this is going on maybe 3 years, 4 years. We used to build them by hand, and now we're all, the chassis, now the chassis are all laser cut and CNC bent for us.
That's a good point. Let's talk about how that changed the industry of buggies, because there's so many people doing that now. Not a bad thing. It makes it makes the most sense. Your quality control.
Yeah, and it makes quality control a lot easier. It makes us able to cut all of our panels and stuff on the big laser, and they fit right up every time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot less, going back and forth, grinding on stuff. Obviously, every buggy has a little bit of custom stuff to it, but for the most part, they're built in a jig, so all the tubes are in the same place. The tube fit up is perfect from the start, so you don't have a lot of grinding tubes. Everything's when you're putting one together, the tube sits where it sits. So and each tube has like a little etch mark on it. So when you're putting it together, well, we can build a chassis in an afternoon, because you just kind of slap it together, and obviously it sits in a jig to hold it for you, but it makes it a lot easier to have the same buggy every time. Your shocks are going to fit where they're supposed to. Your seats are going to sit where they're supposed to. All your parts are going to sit where they're supposed to. And all our brackets and everything are laser cut. So, we don't have a lot of issues with things not being where they're supposed to be. So, I think a lot of guys are going to the CNC chassis because it just takes a lot of that grunt work out of building a buggy, and it gets you a better product in the end. It allows you to focus on the details instead of trying to spend 20 minutes grinding a tube to fit where it's supposed to be, or bending a tube wrong.
Just messed up
or like everybody, I'm sure everybody that fabricates has this issue is you'll have a tube that you think you need to take a 1/16 of an inch off of, and then you take a 1/16 of an inch off and you go set it up and you've got a 2-inch gap all of a sudden. So
it's weird how that works, right?
Yeah. So it takes all that out of it. All your joints fit up right at the right angle, and that if something's not fitting up, it's wrong. So it gives you a lot of good quality control out of it.
Do you sell your chassis as a kit? Or
no, not at the moment. We've kind of talked about it. My business partner and I have talked about it, but it's not something we're super interested in yet. It's,
you're going to have your name on it.
If I want my name on it, I want to have it. And not to say that, I'm certainly not the best welder in the world, but at least I know that when I do it, it's done how I want it to be done. And it takes a lot out of it of someone saying, I'll put it together, and, my cousin's friend's brother's neighbor is a welder, and then they put it together and it breaks in half, and then it's got my name on it. So
exactly. I believe Cutler's the same way. At this time, he doesn't. He thought about that. And I'm not going to speak too much for him. You got to see him in episode 3, but he was kind of the same.
It's just hard to. It's hard to now. Not say we won't do it. Ever, but you get into the thing. We build them all on a chassis table, so you get to the point of if I send it to someone and they don't have a chassis table, how are they going to set the jig up? Do they want to purchase a jig, because they're, the jig is not cheap either. So, it's a full jig setup that covers the whole buggy. So, it ends up, they would spend as much on the jig as it would paying us to put it together.
Yeah.
So they weld pretty quick because the joints are perfect.
Yeah.
So like, when you weld it, it takes a lot less time than some that it take when you have to deal with maybe a not so perfect fit up, and you're having to kind of either fill a gap or do something like that. We don't have any of that issue because when you weld it, it's just a quick zip and you're done. So
yeah. I think the
cuts
way
tube for you.
you're doing it, and Cutler and some of these guys, you got it figured out on the back.
Oh,
you
yeah.
send the file, they send it
Yeah.
to you. It's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Like I said, you focus on the details.
Yeah, and like I know you mentioned, like guys like to build them with their kids or with their friends or whatever, and there's still a lot to do. Like once you get one, right? So, we always like to say that if someone wants a kit or wants to build one, that's fine. We buy the chassis, and then you still got a lot of work to do. Our chassis come complete though, so like you get your sliders, you get your bumpers, your seat bar, your dash bar, your stinger, everything on them is on them when they come to you. We don't sell a chassis that's halfway complete. I mean, it's ready for parts.
Yeah.
But, you still got to put interior in it. You got to put, you got to put your suspension in it. You can put your touches on it. Everyone likes to put, tubes and extra tubes in places and stuff. So, there's enough to do that you could absolutely enjoy doing one.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's so much to be done.
Yeah.
And it seems like I've built a lot with friends and stuff over the years, not at this level, but I've been in this game for a while, and that last 5%.
Oh yeah,
so much.
Takes forever, and we prefer to build rollers really, because this isn't my full time job. I don't do this. I work for corporate job, my day job, and and my business partner is the same way. He runs a big laser shop, which is where all of our panels and everything come from. So we don't do this full time. So for us, it's like we want to be able to get them in and out and get the customers. I mean, we've got a line of 4 right now, and I don't want to tell anybody that you got a year wait.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing turnkeys, then it is a pretty good long wait. But if you're just doing rollers, which is what we've got, we can pump a roller out in a couple months, and so it's pretty nice to be able to just do rollers, but that last 5% it takes forever.
Now, is this turnkey?
The one outside is a turnkey, yeah. And then obviously this is my personal one; it'll be turnkey. But the other 3 that are coming in from customer builds behind that one are heavy rollers.
So is the plan finish this one before you bring in the next thing?
Well, so we've already actually got we kind of build 1.5 at a time, and we've always that's always been our business, is that we never build 2 customers at the same time, because I like to be able to focus on one customer and give that one customer our full attention. So we don't. My business partner has a shop at his house, and he starts, so that he'll put the chassis together, and then he will have it at his house. He'll kind of put the panels on it, rough fit some things, and get things kind of rolling, and kind of get the process started while we're working on someone else's. And then once that one leaves, the other one is ready to come in and get motor, transmission, transfer case, axles. So it's you kind of pre-build them a little bit, and it helps us just you don't have a month or 2 of time where you're just putting a chassis on a table and doing anything like that, because we both work on them, after work on our own and stuff. So it helps us just kind of keep them rolling.
Yeah, so this is Lee's home garage. We're in a 3-bay basement garage.
Yeah, and this is actually big compared to our last shop.
So, kids? You got kids?
I don't have kids, no. And that's probably how I'm able to do a lot of this, because I don't have to, I can come down here on the after work, and my girlfriend lets me, she lets me kind of do my thing down here, so it's nice to be able to spend some time down here.
Half of what I wanted to really capture in this is a guy calls you up, they've heard your name around, and maybe you've had some discussions, or they run into, however it is, they're ready for a buggy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what does that look like? That discussion for y'all to have, where it's heavy roller or turnkey.
Yeah. I mean, I try to take each customer on their own. Everybody wants a different product at the end of the day. Um, I since it's not our full time job, we have to be somewhat, I wouldn't say picky, but we have to make sure the customer is on the same page as us in terms of what we're going to do. Um, we don't like to customize them too much. I mean, obviously each buggy gets some kind of custom touch to it, and we'll work with customers on what they want. But for the most part, I just try to understand what they're looking for. Obviously we're in the southeast, and these are not really what the typical southeast rig looks like. So we want people to understand what they are. I mean, they're built with a lot of classic West Coast styling to them. A lot of Ultra 4 influenced suspension, and they work really well. But I want people to understand what they are. It's not a 140-inch long rock bouncer. I'll just kind of talk to them, and understand what they're looking for, and then obviously they can choose between a 2-seater or a 4-seater. And then we'll talk about, do they want panels? Do they want a roller? Do they want just a chassis? Do they want, turnkey? What are they looking for? And then we'll kind of talk about parts and how they want to do it. Obviously, we're a dealer for pretty much every part you would need to build one. So if you show up with no parts, that's fine. We can do it. A lot of guys have their own axles and stuff and their own motors, and that's fine. We ask customers to bring us axles that are ready to go. I mean, we don't want to spend a month grinding off old brackets and stuff. So I'd like a bare housing, and we kind of go from there and take each customer on their own and see what they want. And we're never too long out in terms of lead time. So we can usually get started pretty quick. So we take a deposit and they get their spot in line, and that's that.
Nice. Let's talk about this turnkey here. What's the timeline on that from what we're seeing right now?
So it's just got back from exhaust. It needs to get put back together to get the final touches on the interior, and then it's ready for the pre-wiring's already been done. The harness has been built for it. It needs to be finished wired, and then plumbed, and then it'll come apart for powder coat. So we should be done with it. I'd like to be taking it apart for powder coat in the next month or so. Yeah, and then once it comes back for powder coat, they go back together pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it'll go back together, and we'll come fire it off and take it for a spin.
It's always tough to build something and be like, it's done.
Yeah,
take it apart.
Yeah, yeah, and it's always a fun process of taking them apart and keeping track of everything and making sure that everything kind of goes. But we inventory everything, and we do make sure that we keep a pretty good eye on where people's parts are and what they need to be, where they need to be, and we certainly aren't just laying parts around hoping for the best.
Yeah.
But yeah. If it was mine, I mean, as you can see, mine's got parts everywhere. But no, for the customer stuff, especially when he's got what he does in parts on that one. I mean, it's we have to be careful with them. And
so how was that discussion? So this is what you're looking at. You don't have to say who it is or anything. That's his business. This was a build that I think a guy like you would dream of, right?
He's about the perfect customer. Yeah, his name's Timmy. He's a local guy here in Atlanta, and he's this is his third buggy, and he truly has no budget, which is we talk about the no budget customer, and and everybody kind of has their friend or buddy or know somebody that's I want no expense spared, and we know what that looks like in a normal buggy, but this was truly he had no budget whatsoever. He was just I want the best of the best of the best, and he got it. I mean he's got two Works housings, Nelson Racing engines 427, Fritz Turbo 400 race case, full ADS racing shock package, PRP seats, CBR coolers, Gearworks, high pinion, trophy truck diffs, He's got our 1550 fabricated knuckles front and rear with Brannick stuff in them. I mean, it's 40 spline everything.
Aluminum upper and lower.
Aluminum, arms. Yeah, billet trailing arms. He's got our spec trailing arms on it.
Your trailing arms are extremely sexy.
Yeah, they're all just billet 70-75. And he's got a set of those on him. He's got obviously rear steer, Mark Williams brakes, radial dynamics. I mean, he just went all out.
All radial dynamic steering.
All radial dynamic steering. I mean, he just went all out and just had, no care in the world about it. He just wanted the best. And so yeah, he's kind of the ideal customer.
Yeah.
And he actually wants to build a second one, which will be really nice. He wants to keep that one kind of nice and have a second one just like it. And so it'll be. He's a good customer. He's a good guy, and yeah, looking forward to doing another one for him.
Buggy, and of course, with me, I stepped my way up several different rigs over the years, and then I sold it, add some money with it, and get a nicer one.
You turn a $15,000 buggy into a $60,000 buggy, and then you sell it, and then you build the buggy of your dreams. I grew up. I'm from the Carolinas, and I grew up, PJ and Jim's Garage, and those guys were kind of, the guys that I grew up. I say grew up. I don't think PJ is that much older than I am, but I grew up seeing what those guys were doing, and PJ actually did some work on my red one back when I was younger. Those were my 20s, and I was more interested in going to the bars than I was working on a buggy on Saturday. So I was stalled out on it, and PJ actually did a little bit of work on he did some front end work on it, and put some interior in it, and that kind of really kicked it back off of kind of what we really wanted to do with these things. So those guys are super talented, and they're kind of the originals of how the quote unquote West Coast style buggy on the East Coast.
Yeah.
We kind of stick to those old classic lines, as you can see. I mean, it's there's no rolled tube, there's no, they're definitely not bouncers.
Yeah.
They can compete with bouncers, but they're no bouncer. We really built them as a high end trail buggy. But people race them. We've got a couple of them racing.
Yeah, you've had some that went out King of the Hammers.
Yeah, Josh Thomerson has one of the first CNC 2-seaters, and he's competed 2 or 3 times now in the shootout at KOH, and I think he got second place last year. And he's always done pretty well. And he competes in some of the SRS races and does pretty well. But there was 2 guys that have CNC chassis that were shooting for KOH this year but didn't make it.
Yeah.
4400 class. Yeah.
I had another person I know of that didn't. They were shooting for it, didn't make it.
It's
a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
Especially if you have a 9 to 5.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, and building the buggy is the cheap part when you think about it. I mean.
Well, yeah, when it comes to racing.
Yeah.
That's why personally, I'm into trail riding.
Yeah,
I like to meet up with 4 or 5 folks and just go. If you got similarly built rigs as far as capability, you can just go have a blast and cover 6-7 hours a day.
Oh yeah. And most of the guys that I ride with, we're all similar built. Most of them are actually in PCRs now at this point, but they've got, we're all similarly built. And we all kind of have similar skill set, which makes us a good group to ride with. We hit the hard trails and we hit the easy trails, and we cruise around, we drink beer and have a good time, and it's nice to have a good group of guys that are all kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
And I obviously overbuilt it, but at the same time, it's a trail buggy. It always will be.
Well, there's nothing better than coming home from a weekend
of
that, and then you just wash it, bolt check it, fluid check it, and it's ready to go back
out. Yeah. I wanted to build a buggy that I didn't have to hopefully work on.
Yeah.
But I also wanted one that could kind of showcase, what we could do, and so it's it's way more built than it needs to be, but at the same time, it's half billboard, half trail buggy. So.
Yeah, you said it was 427.
So 427, a CBM 427 LS stroker, Fritz Turbo 400 in a reed case, Atlas race case, Radflow shock package from Diddy's Big Block. It's got 4-inch housings all 10-inch stuff, Gearworks, high pinion 10-inch Gearworks stuff. 1550 big knuckles on the front, Brannick, 40 spline, CBR coolers, ERP seats, all the standard stuff. ECU masters, controlling it, and that's it should be a fun little rig.
So where do you like to wheel when you're not building them?
We ride the most AOP, just because it's the closest. I mean, it's 2.5 hours or something door to door. And we know the folks up there pretty well, and Sean's a great guy, and he takes care of us when we get up there, and that's kind of our home park. We generally don't ride too much in the summertime. I mean, that's boat weather, so we park the buggies and get the boat out, and then we try to hit the water in the summertime, and we spend
buggies on the side.
Oh yeah,
boats.
Yeah.
See, when you're like,
Yeah.
it's boat or buggy.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on boats, and so it was like there was no way I wasn't gonna, spend some time on them. So, I generally will park the buggies and take the boat in the summertime. And
I love boating. I've never owned one, but they're a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
I like to have friends with boats.
That's the best boat you can own. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we wrap this up, is there anything that you feel like you take this opportunity to cover?
No, I mean, just like we're always looking for new customers, always looking for new guys that want to have a build and reach out to us and let us know what you're looking for. And I mean, we're open to building different things, and we're open to trying new things. And we know we're a smaller company, but we try to focus on the customer first and make sure everyone gets what they want. And
yeah, I like the way you said you addressed the timeline. Like that's going to get your focus. And
Yeah.
You start the next one.
Oh yeah.
And your partner will start the first process of it about time that's going out. So there's a little overlap.
A little bit of overlap, yeah.
So you don't bite off more than you can chew.
Right.
And come in with, well, I got to push this one out because if I crank these 2 rollers out real quick, I get back to that. You get yourself hemmed up.
Yeah, we try not to. I've seen too many guys, make the mistake of biting off more than they can chew, or taking on too many builds, or even worse, like collecting a bunch of money up front and then not being able to produce in time, and people get upset. And then, so we try not to do that. We try to, our customer, we don't ask for a bunch of payment up front. I mean, you deposit and then you kind of pay in installments, but we try to make sure that the customer's comfortable with it. And we understand that we're not some huge well-known shop, so we try to make sure the customer is comfortable with what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we just try to make sure everyone's happy and get what they want. But yeah, we try to focus on each customer by themselves on one-on-one and make sure they're happy with what they're going to get. And usually all of our business is basically word of mouth. So
people know the name.
We generally try to keep people happy, and then if people are really genuinely happy with what they had built, their friends come, and it's nice.
My buddy Derek, who passed up buying the red one, which he's super happy with that rig. It's working really good, but he went wheeling with Kyle, and he sat in it, I think, and looked. He really liked it, and he said, "Yeah, partially committed. We'll build my next buggy."
Yeah, and Kyle's got he's got my business partner's original buggy. That was the twin to my red one. So, those were both the original.
So it's just gotten even better since then.
Yeah, those are built by hand. Yeah, and then so we built those two, and never intended on starting a company. Like, we just built those two to have as our personal buggies. And then I had a friend of mine, or a friend of a friend, name's Todd. He's a local guy as well. He came to us and just said, "Hey, I'd like that. Can you build me one?" And he wanted a bigger version. He wanted a 54-inch wide version. So we built that one. And that was like the first of our customer buggies. And that's what started the 54-inch wide chassis like this. And then, it was engine 3/4 tube, all built by hand. But these are really, at the end of the day, these are, kind of a a new age morphed version of that buggy. Yeah, it's all 2-inch tube. Yeah. But so we started that one, and then he had a buddy that wanted one built, And so we built his, and then he has a buddy, and then more people find out, and so you just kind of, it's all word of mouth. But we've been pretty fortunate to have good customers and happy customers, and have people that we've been able to keep happy, and so that's generally how we like to focus.
What's the future of Partially Committed? Do you think it'll ever become your full time?
No, I don't think I'll ever do a full time. No, I mean, it's right there in the name. Yeah, I mean, we and the name is kind of a play on back when rock bouncing started to become a big thing. It was all about fully committed and never lift and this that, and it kind of became our joke of like, well, lift when appropriate, or like sometimes lift, and it became partially committed racing, and it just kind of stuck, and so, but we joke about it being right there in the name, but it's not our full-time thing, and I don't think it ever will be.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, no.
Just knowing your place.
Yeah, but I mean, it's enough of a full-time thing now. I mean, it's we've always got one in the shop, so there's always one in the getting worked on. I don't think since we started has there ever been a period where we haven't had a customer buggy at some point.
Yeah, with more in the works.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now we've got a whole line, so
it changes when it becomes your full time.
Oh yeah, yeah. And not to say that I like doing it. It's fun to build them. It's fun to create them. But it's also fun to wheel them.
Yeah.
And it's hard to really spend a lot of time, feel good about spending a lot of time wheeling them when you got a customer who's waiting on one to get built. So.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Your builder likes to wheel too.
Yeah.
I think everybody can relate.
Yeah.
To that.
Yeah. And and like you said, you pointed that out, that you can burn out. I've seen a lot of guys that were some of the most passionate guys that I've ever met that just start burning, and they don't want to touch them anymore because it's just they got burnt out. And I don't want that to happen. Yeah, I've always told myself that I'll, if I start to lose the passion for the sport, that I'll step back from building them and just kind of focus on having fun and doing it. And who knows, eventually might hire somebody to kind of do it for us. But at this point, it's kind of, there's no intention of ever being full time. And but like I said, it's enough of a full time. Yeah. So.
Well, there you have it. Some time with Partially Committed Racing. Just a home garage, So
yeah.
If you get on the list or thinking about it, just remember some realistic timelines. He's a regular guy who likes to go wheeling too. Realistic timelines, I think.
Yeah.
Discussed up front helped a lot. And we'll go over. You got to see his rig. You got to see a rig with no budget, and you'll be seeing these rigs, I'm sure.
Hopefully.
On social media pages. I think that one's going to get a lot of attention.
Yeah. I think so too. Yeah. That one's going to make the rounds, I think so.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this time with Lee here. The next one's coming up. We'll be seeing Matt Cutler over in Mount Airy, North Carolina. We'll see some cool work. And you guys know each other, right?
We do, yeah. He's done a little bit of work for us, and then we've helped him with some things. And he's a great guy. He's super knowledgeable, and he's always willing to help out. So he's a good guy.
That'll make for a good episode. So tune in for the next one. And if you want a buggy, consider Lee.
Awesome, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.